We got Eugene Levy in studio. Good morning, Eugene.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty
now
good.
we're on.
Good.
All right, now we're on the air.
What happened to Maggie Grace? We had a beautiful woman sitting right where you were, and now it's Eugene Levy.
I saw her.
Yeah, you met her out there?
I met her out there.
Yeah,
She's
a
a looker,
sweetheart.
right?
She is a sweetheart.
She's better looking in person. Like, I always knew she was good looking, but seeing her close up, like, she is really beautiful.
People say the same thing about me.
That's true. You are very
I'm much
pretty.
better looking in person. And,
You are
and
beautiful,
somewhat
sir.
more pretty than people
Yes,
thought
beautiful.
I look on film.
But on film, you look really good and sexy, too. It's with
Yes.
you, it's not as big of a shock.
Well, we should possibly discuss this after the broadcast.
Yeah, I like the way he thinks.
Look at that,
And what a
Jay.
nice head of hair on him and everything. Jeez, look at you.
I've still got the feathers.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah.
That's
when
your
a lot
hair?
of people you probably know lost
Yeah.
their plumage, you're still the peacock.
Well, that's the thing about, like, going to a high school reunion, which I've never been to, incidentally. But
High school or the
never,
reunion?
high school never had a
Oh.
high school reunion, and
What?
I'm devastated by it. I was looking forward to it.
You'd have been the popular guy. You'd have been like, oh, see, he's the guy that standout
Well, I
star.
think that's true. That's not the sole reason that I was looking forward to going to
Was
it.
for
But
me.
but I mean, it's you do kind of see the old kind of ex-football players that are,
Still hanging at the
looking
local,
a little
yeah.
paunchy,
And hanging out the local gin mill still with their leather jacket on and going over the old times.
That's
right?
it. You were the popular guy, were you?
Yeah. What happened?
Yeah.
Opie went to school. And see, this is the problem. Mariah Carey also went to his high school, so
good.
that knocks his ass right out of contention as being the most famous guy.
I think I'm
in
number
his
two,
school.
though.
on, really?
Eugene,
Mariah
I'm number
Carey
two,
went
though.
to your high
But I'm
school?
number two. It might be a drop-off, but I am number two.
Was she in your class?
I like to tell people that so they think I'm
No,
younger.
she's a little
Yes.
younger than.
She was a little
than
younger.
Opie.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got about
All right.
4 years on me.
Wow. Does she have a picture up in the hall?
I bet.
No.
Does she have a trophy in the case?
No.
There's no
Do
picture
you?
of her?
No.
Boy,
I don't
that's
know.
something.
I haven't been
Yeah.
through the halls in a while. She used to work at the supermarket as a cashier, though.
Oh. Down in Greenlawn.
Wall
Yeah.
bombs.
And boy, does this tie in very nicely with Reunion.
It does?
American Reunion. That's your movie.
How did you do
Coming
that?
up. It's you know what? That's why I'm a
That was
professional.
uncanny.
It really was.
Yeah.
I picked up on that in a second. I heard Reunion and went, that's the movie.
We've been doing this
Wait
a
a
long
American
time.
Reunion.
I would not have put that together.
I know, Eugene. You just sit and let us drive.
Can I-
You're the passenger.
And
Have
before
fun.
hold on,
Sightsee.
hold on. Before we get to American Reunion, I do want to say one thing. You're the father in Goon.
Yes,
I
that's
love
right.
that movie.
Yes. Do you like Goon? I to be honest, I still haven't seen it. I've been on the road when it opened here, but I'm hopefully going to see it when I go back to Los Angeles.
Quickly, I don't
on
think
the weekend.
I don't think they had big expectations for the movie, how they rolled it out, but people are really liking this movie.
Well, I
Our
know they
fans are
love it.
loving
They
it.
love it in Canada.
Yep.
Oh, man, hockey. Yeah.
They love it in Canada. It's a religion up there.
And you were the
But,
father.
I was Sean William Scott's father in Goon.
That's correct.
And
Who's also
but,
in American Reunion.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's true. The greatest character ever, Stifler.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a role that Sean is. I think it's really going to shock a lot of people. I think he was really.
Yeah.
I mean, just being on set with him, I was kind of blown away.
The brutality.
Yeah, it's
bloody.
again, it's
violent.
pretty bloody, and Liev Schreiber, also a great performance, great actor. He was in Taking Woodstock, a film I was in as well.
Yeah.
Taking
So-
Woodstock. Who else was in that? That wasn't Dimitri Martin, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was Dimitri. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I still haven't seen that.
No, I saw parts
I
of it.
gotta see that movie.
Yeah.
I saw Goon though. I just
If
want to
you
acknowledge
were
that
there, were
that's
you
a good
there at
movie,
the
too.
time? Were you there? Did you do the '60s thing?
Oh, man. Right? Remember?
I love the fact that he's looking at you two like it's possible you went to Woodstock. You know how happy that makes me?
I remember. Yeah. That was,
We went to the '90s version.
Free Love.
It's,
the marijuana.
You kind of had to be there. It's but it was a lovely, lovely movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Hendrix closing out the show. It was way past my bedtime. I think I was actually, I remember watching the news accounts of it. I was a child, but I do remember.
What years were you in SCTV?
When
What
did we
years?
do it?
What years were you there?
We started in '76 and we finished in '84.
Wow.
And we were down 1 year, the better part of 1 year. So it was like 7 years.
And Candy was there the whole time with you?
Oh yeah, we were. No, John was not there the last year, and he was not there this. Oh boy, was it this? Now I can't remember the second last year. One of the half-hour years, I think he was not there for. A couple of years there, John or maybe Catherine kind of didn't come in for it, but pretty much 90% of the time.
Yeah, that had a hell of the cult following back then.
It was a great
yeah.
show. It was the inmates running the asylum. It was just great fun. It was the most fun I think I've had in my career. We just had a lot of laughs. We were just writing what we thought was funny and doing it. And we were shooting up in Toronto. We were shooting in Edmonton, Alberta. We had no idea people were even watching the show when we first started it because, we would just go in, tape, and then go home and have dinner. I mean, it wasn't like, Saturday Night Live where you've got New York City at your feet, We were just doing a job and going home. And eventually, in the second year, we started when it got syndicated to about 40 American cities.
Yeah.
We started getting, reviews and things from American papers like Dallas, Texas, and Boston, and we're going, wow, people are actually watching the show. People are watching the show.
It was a type of comedy that we just weren't getting here. It was really out there. I think you really needed a good kind of off-center sense of humor to get it.
Well, that's good, and those are the fans of the show, and those really were the people that we were kind of gearing the show for. It's because we weren't making excuses, we weren't apologizing for anything. We would just and there was nobody to tell us what to do.
Yeah, and also the movies you've done with Christopher Guest. That's another type of genre of movie that people that find that funny have a different sense of humor.
Well, again, we're kind of given carte blanche by the studio. Castle Rock is who we did the movies for, and I guess Warner's distributed. But those movies were as long as we didn't go over budget, they gave you whatever it was.
Alone.
The first like Guffman was maybe $5 million or something. It was just a really low budget movie. As long as you don't go over $5. You can do what you want. We're not going to interfere creatively.
Right. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a more sad character than yours in Best in Show, where just with the wife that would just every guy she bumped into had sex with her at some point in life. And Eugene's character is trying to play it off like, oh, okay, well, don't you? And it's just blatant. They had unbelievable sex together, and you're trying to just play it off.
The funny thing was they would talk. She would bump into these old guys that she used to, have sex with, and then they would just talk about how great the sex was in front of me.
It was terrible.
And he was just too nice a guy to say anything, so he just kind of stood there and waited until they were finished talking about it.
Horribly.
Jerry Fleck, yes.
Yeah, Jerry Fleck.
That's right.
And you guys had a lot of latitude as far as what the characters said, script-wise?
Yeah, it was all. They were improvised movies. Chris and I, kind of really wrote a pretty fine-tuned outline. We scene by scene, we kind of laid out what the exposition and story and everything else. We even included some jokes. If we thought of some jokes for the character, we would kind of write it in, but not so much as dialogue. We just kind of wrote it in, but we didn't write it out as kind of dialogue. Scripted, so they were kind of screenplays without dialogue, really. And the great fun was that people actually and there was no rehearsal. So when you get you get on set, you get on camera, and that's the first time you actually realize what's going on. First time you hear what's coming out of the other character's mouth.
Wow!
Before Curb Your Enthusiasm did it, you guys did it.
Well, Curb, the reason it's taken so long to even come out with a fifth movie for Chris and myself is that now everybody's kind of aping the style. It's
Right.
everybody's now doing a fake documentary thing, right? Every television show has now got this fake documentary talking to camera, and it's kind of a lame, the way it's done now is just homogenized down to a point where it just becomes like, what is it?
Yeah.
So there's nothing kind of unique about doing
It feels formulaic now, like that's just the way
it's just
sitcoms
kind
are
of
done.
that's just the way comedy goes. So it doesn't we're still kind of looking to try and figure out how whatever we do next is going to be kind of different. And
The ensemble cast too is amazing at doing that type of movie and humor. You got like Fred Willard is hysterical. Parker
Fred,
Posey in Best in Show was unbelievably
well,
funny.
Parker's
Angry.
really the only actress I think in the group who did not come out of an improvisational background.
Really?
Everybody else is pretty, had some pretty good training. I mean, myself, Catherine, Fred Willard, Linda Cash was in Waiting for Guffman, all Second City people. Jennifer Coolidge came out of the Groundlings. And it's these people are really good. I mean, it's a great cast for doing this kind of work, because you think if you're just going to improvise, just throw in a line and try and get a laugh, and that's what it is. It's not a Robin Williams kind of improvisation,
Right, yeah.
We're talking about here. It's kind of knowing how to keep everything funny and yet organic to the character. It's all got to come out of the character. The audience has to care about your character. Otherwise, it's just a series of jokes.
That's why you can't just put anybody in that situation, and it's going to be a good, funny, improv movie. Yeah.
You kind of have to know, how to get your laughs, keep the scene moving, and when to shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that collection of people on those movies has always been hysterical.
Yeah, no, it's a great group.
So will you write like we want the scene to kind of start here, and the purpose of the scene is to get you and your wife to the supermarket, and then you just kind of flow in and out. Do you guys put a time limit on it, or do you just kind of feel how it's going?
No, just feel how it's going. I mean, it's once the information comes out in the scene, and people are just kind of going off and riffing on something, then they keep the cameras rolling just to cover it, because you may get something funny that you can actually use. And the great thing about those movies is that it's a documentary format, so you have a lot of editing options that you can use to kind of sew the comedy pieces together. In a documentary, you can use jump cuts. You can go to somebody talking to camera. You can cut out at any time and then kind of cut back in. It's not a narrative, so to speak. So you really, the great thing about that form is that you can cut out at any time, cut back in, go to somebody talking to camera. You can jump cut somebody 3 times and just go from one funny thing to another if you want.
Yeah.
And that was the great thing about the format. But now it's everybody's kind of doing it, but they're doing it in a scripted kind of way.
Yeah,
so it
and
doesn't.
you could tell.
It just doesn't look. It's scripted, and they're not really making it up, and it's
The forced awkwardness that's not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the deadpan stare to
well,
camera.
the thing
that's-
about being improvised, doing an improvised movie or just improvising on camera is there's not it's not scripted, because you can. Everybody's kind of
Everyone's getting it at the same time.
everyone's
Yeah.
getting it at the same
Yeah.
time. You're saying it for the first time, and people are hearing it for the first time. So everybody's reaction is kind of as spontaneous
Right.
as you can possibly get. It's not a
Yeah, when you're doing dialogue with another actor in the movie, they aren't quite sure where you're going, and you could see their reaction to it. Sometimes they want to laugh, and even though you don't see an inkling of a smile, you could see behind that face somebody wants to crack up.
I had to in the first movie, Waiting for Guffman. It was I had to. I was breaking up so many times on set that I actually would try and lose myself behind anybody else that was in the scene, get down on my hands and knees, and crawl off the set. so the camera wouldn't see me, so I wouldn't stop the scene. I didn't want to laugh on camera, but I just couldn't help myself, and I would just kind of disappear behind somebody, and then crawl off the set and start laughing and say, okay, well, that was it. I couldn't help myself.
Well, I guess Roland saw American Reunion.
Yeah.
And he says he's crowing about it,
He loves
saying
it.
that better than the original.
Could be.
I
Yeah, he
think
says.
here's the thing. I always have a soft spot for the first American Pie
Sure.
because it was just such a great experience. American Reunion, honestly, I think could be the funniest of the four movies, and it was handled really, really well by the writer-directors. These young guys who were in high school when American Pie actually came out, and they had just had such an effect on them, and it really influenced their writing and their writing style. And they couldn't wait to kind of get on board this thing, and they did such a great job of creating a movie with a great story, moving all the characters in a direction that kept the whole thing moving forward. Because when I first heard they were doing another one, I thought, boy, how are they going to stretch this into a fourth installment? And they did. Wow, I get to go on a bit of a ride, my character in this thing, which is great. They finally let me out of the house. And, so everything's kind of, and the premise is fantastic, I mean, it is a high school reunion, and there's a lot of implication there, current relationships hooking up with old relationships, and it's really great. It's a very, very funny movie.
When you're doing a movie, if you see a joke that you don't like, you go, "Oh, it just stinks." I mean, you're kind of in a position where you can at least have a certain amount of input. Do you do the joke anyway, or will you actually somehow go to the writer, the director, and go, "Could I swap this out?"
Yeah.
You're comfortable doing that.
No, I go to the writer director.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. No, I would say I can't. Can we come up with something else here? Because this is I think it's kind of lame. And usually they just. I mean, I've had a lot of flexibility in terms of doing that or reworking a scene. Again, in this movie, there's a lot of improvisation. They encouraged you to improvise. They encouraged you to go off script. So there was the scenes I do with Jason Biggs as my son. There's a lot of freewheeling improvisation that kind of goes in there that I enjoy, and got to work with Jennifer Coolidge, Stifler's mom. That's kind of a very exciting thing for me in this movie. So yeah, it's kind of good. But I remember doing one. I think there was one, maybe the second American Pie, and there was a scene, a speech that I really didn't care for. I remember going up to the director and saying, "Gee, can we change this speech? I don't really care for it." He said, "Oh, I thought that was funny. That's a funny line." I said, "Well, not to me. It's not. It's not that funny to me." He said, "Well, okay. Well, you want to change it? All right. Well, why don't you change it? But do me a favor. Do your version, and then just for fun, do it the way it's written." And I said, "I can't do that. I can't do that. That doesn't make any sense to me."
Give us one for safety, and that's what
give
it
us,
is.
they would do,
give us one that you can put in the vault, and then and I don't have the combination.
Exactly.
So you were honest with him, and you said, "I can't do that."
Yeah, I said I can't. I just don't think it's a funny line, and I whatever. But I think that was the only time that
Eugene's
it really
difficult to work with.
It really got got to a point of I don't think I don't think he walked away saying that, but maybe. But no, there's a lot of improvisation in this, and not that we needed to, because I think it was a really funny script, and it has all the same sensibility as the first American Pie, and it does have, over and above all the sex, and there is something in this movie that you probably would not expect to see. So the envelope kind of continues to get pushed here, but it does have a really nostalgic vibe to it. And it even has some kind of little sentimental scenes that they weren't afraid to kind of, go there. So it really is a very funny, but a very kind of rich, great movie that completely stands on its own. It's not like you need to see the other 3 movies in order to find this movie funny. It really kind of stands up on its own. Everybody knows what a high school reunion is. Even if you know or don't know the characters, you're still going to have a lot of laughs.
Who's the? I mean, I know it's a very tough question, but who would you say is the best improver that you ever worked with? And it may be one of 3 amazing improvers. I think really good improvers. I say this every time one of you guys. It's so hard to do believable good improv.
Well, there are 3 pretty great improv people that I've worked with. One was Joe Flaherty, who was in our show, SCTV, also a Second City guy. And when I got into Second City, Joe was kind of, a veteran. He had done the Chicago show, and we opened our show in Toronto. And so Joe came up and worked with this new Canadian cast. But Joe was the only guy who honestly could make me laugh on stage, because I was not a breakup on stage. You couldn't break me up. I was just too damn professional. And Joe just had my number. He had a thing in his eye. He could just, it's that little thing he has in his eye that he sometimes used to use with his character Guy Caballero on our old show. It was just a thing you could see. He's the man in the wheelchair, but he only uses it for respect. He can actually walk. The second guy is Chris Guest, who is absolutely brilliant. And I was a fan of Chris's from, going back to the early 70s, listening to his stuff on the old National Lampoon records.
Wow.
Amazing character work. And the third is Marty Short, who, and there's no particular order to this. Marty is my best friend, actually, but I don't think there's anybody faster or funnier in this business than Marty Short. He is he's just razor sharp. He does a character, Jiminy Glick, that is, I think, one of the great creations ever. And all his stuff is pretty much, he may have some questions written down, but everything else is all off the top of his head. And
he was part of SCTV.
Yeah, Marty was on was on SCTV the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember watching SCTV years ago, and then right afterwards there'd be that Showtime exercise show with the girls on the turntables.
That's right.
And it was almost like watching pornography back then.
Oh yeah, they'd be in their little white sneakers.
Yeah. And they do stretching into the camera.
Yeah.
That was very close.
That was porn back then.
Back then, that was
porn.
Yeah.
And that was right after SCTV that came on.
That's
it's like,
funny.
what a
Funny
great,
you remember that.
What a great block in time that was.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it didn't come on before SCTV.
Yes, I'd been all tuckered out, I guess.
Would have put you in a whole different frame of mind, I think. You'd have been looking at it saying, that's not funny.
Did you guys know John Candy was such a versatile actor? I don't think a lot of people knew that just based on what he did comedy-wise with SCTV and whatnot. But he was a very good actor, too.
John was actually a great actor, and he was a very, very much underrated actor. And I knew when I was working with John on the show, on our television show, the work that he did on some of the characters, he would just go really deep into a character. Just strange, insane stuff.
Yeah.
But he was deep in the character and so focused. I remember doing a movie with him way early on, 1980. I think it was called Going Berserk. And it's a movie with some very funny scenes. No story necessarily, but and John had a scene to do in there that was really kind of a tough scene. It was, he had to be kind of sitting on the bank by it must have been a lake or something, and he's supposed to be kind of masturbating. Can we say that on the air?
Certainly.
It's actually
Say that
taking you far too long to get to it.
And a cruise ship. Thank you. It's
about time. God, we've been waiting.
I know. And you and Universal. And a cruise ship goes by and kind of sees him, in the process of doing what he's doing, and then he had that scene. And I remember saying to him, I said, John, why don't you just go up and see if you can change the scene? Because that would have been my instinct, right? I can't do this. Maybe we can change it. And John said, no, that's what's written. My job is I've got to do it. I've got to find a way of doing it, And I was going, wow. I guess that's what acting is.
That's really acting.
And John was I mean, really. How about
Only the Lonely? He was very good in.
Oh, and Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, which I
Amazing.
think is
Amazing.
his. I mean, I loved Uncle Buck, but I think Trains and Planes is just about the greatest John Candy performance.
At the end of
Yeah.
that, when he's giving that little speech about himself, and it's serious.
Yeah, no.
It's heartbreaking.
And it's really
a great
close
job.
to his to who he was too. It was really kind of revealing.
It reminded me of I've seen when you watch earlier Jonathan Winter's work where he's being a serious actor.
Yeah.
It had that same vibe to it. Yeah.
Well, how about JFK? His little role in
right,
JFK.
yeah, that's right. He was in
Oh
JFK.
my God, I forgot about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And a good day to you, sir. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
No, John was really, really a great actor and just so much fun to work
And
with.
of course, the one of the most memorable things on SCTV, the 3D, where he has the pen.
Yes,
He's putting it to the screen.
Yep, 3D.
Yep.
With Woody and Tongue. I did the Schmengi Brothers
The
with
Schmengi
John.
Brothers.
I did a lot of stuff with John. Did about 5 or 6 movies with him.
Yeah.
Great talent. Great talent.
The whole group was really amazing. It was. Have you noticed a big difference between Canadian comedy and American comedy? If you look at English comedy, it's a lot drier, they say, and whatnot.
Yeah.
But is there a difference? Do you see a difference?
One is good, one is not. Canadian. See, I never really looked at it like Canadian comedy and American comedy. I never, we sometimes would get criticized in Canada because, I remember when our show went off the air, my hometown paper, Hamilton, Ontario, up there had a headline, SCTV Good Riddance after 7 years, and it was like weird. And our show was like I thought it was a pretty good show.
Yeah.
Certainly for Canada, and I finally got to talk to the reporter who wrote that, and I said, what were you thinking? What was going? He said, well, you have a lot of American references in your show, and I just thought you guys could have just had more Canadian references. And I said, okay, you know what? This is not about Canadian and American. It's about what's funny, and you have to. And our show plays in the United States, so we have to play. People have to understand what we're doing. We're not
Right.
just writing a Canadian show, and we're not writing an American show. We did shows that reflected a Canadian theme, even though Americans probably wouldn't have understood, what a parody of the CBC was. They wouldn't have even have got it, but they would have found it funny on their own.
The Great White North was completely Canadian references as far as
Absolutely, and it became like really funny. So
Yeah.
to me, it's just if it's funny, it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
It will play all over the place in a way. I mean, Monty Python came out, and they were hysterical. You didn't understand anything,
Right.
really. You didn't necessarily know what these references were,
Right.
these bizarre names and street names and whatever the hell it was. But you were laughing your ass off.
Funny.
Yep. Yeah.
You recognize them as funny guys, and it's like sometimes you just understand the experience, even if you don't understand the exact
Yeah, it
reference.
does.
You still know what's going
Transcends
on.
Location. Yeah.
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 Great.
We got to get Eugene out of
Yes.
here. We're being told that that's not coming
Eugene.
from us. Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming in, man. I've been a fan for years.
Well, this is great. This is like it's a lot of fun, and it was great talking to you guys, and it's very
Thank you,
comfortable
sir.
in here, and
We try.
really just to get out and see the movie because I'm
Yes.
telling you, it's a funny movie. I have to say that.
All the characters
This Friday-
are back. You know them all.
Every single character is back in the movie. Every single character, and there's just some amazing stuff. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Great.
So American Reunion in theaters this Friday. We don't even need to promote it. You guys all know it's coming out, but thanks, Eugene Levy. It's great.
Eugene Levy, thanks so much, man.
Thanks,
My pleasure.
Eugene.
Sal, what did you learn on the Opie and Anthony show today?
Honestly, I wasn't listening that much.
What the fuck did the interns do here?
I walked in the office and go, hey, do you know that it sounds like I really don't know.
What did the intern?
Well, I listened to the Eugene Levy interview, and
What did you learn? You know what I learned today?
What?
I learned that you can get by in show business with strong eyebrows.
Yes.
And that's something I got very happy when I saw someone like Eugene Levy in here, because he's a guy with these giant eyebrows
Now,
who's
Sam,
done
is
very
that
well
somebody
for
you
himself.
want to model yourself after?
Yeah, he's very famous. He's been in a lot of movies. He's very funny. He has massive eyebrows. It works for me. It's to me, that's somebody who I look up to.
And Mercury was awesome.
Yeah.
He was hilarious.
I learned that Eugene Levy is really attractive in person. Is
You
that
were
good enough?
attracted
Yeah,
to
I was
him?
attracted to his anchovy eyebrows. What
Don't get mad at me because you didn't listen to the show.
He's wearing the same glasses, isn't he?
Like, what did you learn is an easy game to play. All you have to do is listen to the show when it's happening in the room right next to you. Travis in Kentucky, what did you learn today on the Opie and Anthony show?
I learned that Eugene Levy has a hard out for Stifler's mom.
Yeah. Eugene Levy and Roland, you saw the new American Reunion movie. What did you think?
I loved it. It's
You
like
did.
on par with the first one.
You enjoyed it that much?
I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna pay to see it again on Friday.
You are?
Yeah, I love it.
It's very exciting.
Stifler was hilarious.
Was he?
He ruled.
Eugene Levy on the show today said that Stifler was one of the greatest characters in any movie ever.
Yeah, you see him working in a corporate environment, going, "What's up, fuck faces?"
Oh, that's good.
I love it.